let's talk about some of the philosophical issues that we find in the Ninth Symphony. Now remember the reference to the Big Bang Theory at the very beginning of the symphony, when the scattered fragments, the motives from the first theme gradually coalesce together and finally form the first statement of that theme. So the idea here is that compression leads to an all-inclusive singularity. Likewise, the first Schrecken's fanfare, if you remember that, it compresses both of the keys found in that first movement, the D minor and the B flat major, into a singularity, a single chord. What was stated separately at the beginning and then major then gets compressed into a singular statement, B flat and D minor at the same time. Similarly, the second Schrecken's fanfare compresses all the notes of the D harmonic minor scale into a singularity. This one big 13th chord. Usually scales are heard one note at a time. But here Beethoven compressed them all into a single chord. The result of both of those compressions is something that is very dissonant. And so the implication here is that all the people of the world are coming together, but in conflict and strife. Unfortunately, still applicable today as it was in Beethoven's time. The final coda also presents a kind of singularity, but with a different attitude. By presenting the Janissary instruments at the same time as the religious instruments in a harmonious way, the implication is that all people of the world come together in joy and brotherhood. This also happens in movement 4, when the two themes, the theme from section 1 and the theme from section 3, come together in a polyphonic way. Again, a union of sacred and secular. Another idea to think about is an observation that some have made, is that the fourth movement of the Ninth Symphony is itself a miniature symphony, a symphony within a symphony. So if we look at the symphony as a whole, we had movement 1, that was the tragic one in minor. Movement 2, that was the scherzo. So this was an allegro, but in minor, a dark allegro. Movement 2 is a scherzo. Movement 3 is the slow movement. And then movement 4, which is actually a variety of tempos. Now if we take movement 4 and break it down to sections, you have an introduction, then you have section 1, section 2, section 3, and section 4. Section 1 is allegro. Section 2 is also allegro. That's the military section, and so it has a different attitude. And this is sort of more. It's a little more lively. It's more like the scherzo. Section 3 is the slow section. That's the religious section. And then section 4 is mostly allegro again, but it's a variety of tempos. If you look at this movement 4 is a miniature symphony, and it's a microcosm of the symphony as a whole. Allegro, scherzo, slow, and then back to allegro. So, allegro there, scherzo, slow, and then that's sort of an imitation of what a fourth movement would be. So this right here is a rethinking, a do-over. Why did Beethoven get all the way through a symphony and then decide to do it over again? Well, he wasn't satisfied. Not that he wasn't satisfied, but on our imaginary journey through the Ninth Symphony, we get through the first 3 movements and we decide that we are not satisfied with where this is taking us. And that's why, at the beginning of the 4th movement, we have the Schrecken's fanfare, which is dissonant. We're unhappy about that. And then we reflect and examine all the music that has taken place. We look at the first movement. We are unsatisfied with that. We look at the second movement. We are unsatisfied with that. We look at the third movement. That's nicer, but we're still not satisfied with that. And so it's not until we find the right theme, the joy theme, the Ode to Joy, that we are finally satisfied. So at this point, Beethoven is proposing a new aesthetic. Once we find the right theme, then we attempt to do the symphony all over again, the right way, the way we should have done it, coming together joyfully without strife. And so this 4th movement is a vision of utopia, something that we long for, but of course never quite seem to achieve. In a sense, the Ninth Symphony attempts to escape its own confines, as if saying there has to be more to life than this. It's about breaking free and seeking true joy. The implication, and why this is such a universally meaningful and profound piece of music, is that it represents us. Individually, do we live our lives every day and just keep going until we get old and die? Or do we seek for meaning in our lives and true joy? And that's how I've tried to approach this class. From the beginning, I haven't been satisfied with just going by the book, even though we could easily have done that. But I feel that you all deserve more from a teacher, and you are all capable of greater things. And that's why I felt that it was worthwhile for us to look deeper into the meaning of these things, into great works like Beethoven's 5th Symphony and 9th Symphony, and for us to understand, to consider why this music is truly great, and why it's worth our attention.